Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in today's second video doing USA forecast. Today's second video, so it's also on a Wednesday, having a look at the weather. For next week to 10 days, the United States will be able to extend out beyond that with the CFSV2, which will take us to 4 weeks out, gets to the new year. So there's what's going on in America in a moment. Just say that first video is our 7 AM upload. I've got a 10 to 14 day for the UK and for the rest of Europe as well. So check that out, coming up for you later on in an hour or so's time. Like, share, subscribe on video. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Right, let's crack on then. We'll have a look at what's happening in the USA. We're going to begin with the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles. Let's go to weeks for New York City. So it's starting off quite cold, actually, in the north and in the east and the northeast at the moment. The upper air temperatures are below average. However, we have got a lift up in the upper air temperatures coming over the next few days into the weekend. It's going to get a lot milder. And it looks like it just stays generally quite mild, really, right way through towards Christmas, to be honest. So a pretty mild scene, I think, coming up through many parts of America over the run up to the Christmas period. There's a little bit of a drop just there. Takes place early on next week, but overall that looks pretty mild, I have to say, as we go in towards the Christmas period. That gets us towards Christmas Eve, just there, with the upper air temperatures generally above average. Also quite dry as well, so lots of dry weather over the next few days. There will be a precipitation spike just here that's associated with drop in temperature, so I suppose there must be some sort of warm front that's pushing in there, and then a cold front just there that produces rain, maybe a little bit of snow, nothing out of the ordinary. And then after that, the temperatures lifting up again. Relatively dry then through the middle part of December, maybe getting a little bit more unsettled as we get towards the Christmas period, you know, Christmas Eve and whatnot, but that is a very long way off, and before then, I think it's pretty dry really across many parts of eastern America. So there's a temperature anomaly for the United States for the 8th through to 16th of December. Above average, really, away from the west coast. So the west coast, like California and going northwards up the west coast, got some cold average temperatures there, and some way inland as well. But really, from the Rocky Mountains eastwards, it is a very, very mild scene across most parts of America. So, yeah, very mild December coming up, or very mild sort of second week of December coming up anyway, from most parts of the states. And precipitation-wise, it does vary from area to area, but it looks wettest out in the west, so these western states actually have significantly above average precipitation, above average rainfall there, whereas the central eastern states, although there are one or two areas that are a little bit more unsettled, generally it's drier, I think, the further eastwards you happen to go, particularly through these central states here, like from Texas, and going northwards. Wettest in the west then. Right, so this is how the setup is currently across the United States. Now, I've got some very cold air, the upper air temperature chart for today. I've got some very cold air at the moment in the far north, through the Midwest, and into these eastern and northeastern states. It is milder out to the west. That's the general setup today. So it looks pretty cold in the northeast, and there will be some snow around up there through the Midwest and into the far north. And then out west, we've got these areas of low pressure that will be bringing some quite heavy rain, I would have thought. Now, as we go through the next few days, what we're going to find happening is that high pressure begins to build into the east, and that will start to draw up milder air from the south. So this is where the increase in the temperature is coming from. The jet stream starts to push northwards, and it goes significantly milder then as we get through towards the end of the week. We will have this area of low pressure developing just here. That will be sort of pushing that mild air northwards into these eastern states, probably bringing some snow on the northern and western side of the area of low pressure. Generally out towards the west, it does look as though it would be a little bit more unsettled then. So that gets us to the end of the week, and we're looking pretty mild at that point. We have a look at upper air temperatures again. We see that the coldest of the air has retreated back into Canada, and we are pushing up this much milder air from the south as we go in towards the end of the week. The west and the northwest does look a little bit on the colder side, however, though, the air coming in from the northern Pacific. So through to the weekend, we find that quite deep area of low pressure pushing northwards, update heavy rain through the midwest and in towards the east, but also very mild temperatures from the southwest. Behind that, we pull down something a little bit colder from the north again. As that low pressure moves through, it does temporarily turn colder in the very, very far northern part of America. Not excessively so, but we start to pull some cold air back in that area of low pressure. But the east coast itself still looks quite mild, and out west it still looks generally mild as well. But as high pressure begins to build up from the south again, I don't think that colder push is going to last all that long. To be honest. So as we go into the rest of the weekend, next week, get this big ridge building across eastern parts of America. That ridge will bring lots of dry weather, but will also bring up really mild air from the south. So we'll start to see much warmer air pushing northwards again, or milder air pushing northwards again from the south through the midwest and into the east. At the same time, low pressure is coming in off the Pacific Ocean, though. That will bring a bit of a deluge potentially to those western states. California, for example, certainly northern California, can expect some heavy rain, maybe for mountainous areas, heavy snow with that as well. And a real east-west split setting up through the middle of next week. This is Wednesday, 15th of December next week, where we've got like the ridge over on the eastern side, pulling up those very mild, those very mild winds all the way from the Gulf of Mexico. So mainly dry, but really mild across those midwestern and eastern states. Meanwhile, out west, it's low pressure dominated. Jet stream is pushing southwards as well, so quite cold and wet through those western states. And through to the Rocky Mountain states as well, with heavy rain, and of course in mountainous areas there will be the chance of some heavy snow as well through those mountainous areas, such as the Rocky Mountains. Colorado, for example, will probably get quite a lot of snow next week. This area of low pressure towards the end of next week starting to move northwards in towards the midwest, possibly hinting at pulling some cold air back in there into the far northern states. But generally, you see most southern, midwestern and eastern parts of America still very, very mild with those upper air temperatures through the middle of next week. It really is just out in the far west and northwest where it looks quite a lot colder. And then we head on in towards day 10, and we start to change the pattern a little bit then. The high pressure beginning to pull back towards those more western states and possibly start to get something a bit colder, trying to get into the far northern part of America from Canada, actually. So we do try and pull in some cold air from the north. It struggles though, it doesn't really come to much. And you see how this ridge is once again trying to push over towards the east part of America around the 20th of December, trying to pull the mild air back up from the south again. So there's no sign of anything particularly cold coming up, in the next 10 days. There's no sign of anything particularly cold coming up across most parts of northern and eastern America. That's how it looks on the 21st of December, with this area of low pressure reading through then. Again, I expect that is pulling in some quite cold air from Canada up here. So if we go there, that's pulling in some quite cold air from Canada up here. But overall, still a mild scene from most parts of America. Most parts of America still, on the mild side of the jet stream. Generally, it does look getting colder out into those northwestern states. Then we get through to the end of this particular GFS run, and we look like that. So this gets to Christmas Eve. High pressure event is reaching through the eastern part of America on Christmas Eve, and it looks like the most unsettled and coldest weather will probably still be in the west and northwest. That's how the upper air temperatures are set up. So we are putting in some very cold air into the far northwestern part of America, but otherwise most areas are looking pretty mild on Christmas Eve. Just a little bit colder in the northeast, perhaps by then. The far northeast begin to get a little bit colder as well. But many parts of the states actually on Christmas Eve looking quite mild. Of course, that's over 2 weeks away, so there is a chance that there might be some more widespread colder weather for Christmas, and that is showing. ECM, the Euro, looks like this again on Wednesday. Today, that is. Of course, we've got the cold air in the Midwest and into the Northeast as well. You have a look at the upper air temperature, you can see. The coldest weather over the next 10 days is probably now in these Midwestern and Northeastern states, because this cold air is going to retreat later on in the week. So we go through the Thursday and Friday. We see the retreat of the cold air as start to push up this milder air from the south, so that by Friday, the upper air temperatures, because the upper air temperatures are retreating back into Canada. Most parts of America looking pretty mild, I have to say, with those upper air temperatures by by Friday. This area of low pressure pushes through on Saturday. That will bring very mild air from the south on its eastern side, also a lot of heavy rain. Something colder coming in on the backside of below will produce some quite heavy snow then as well. So you see a big contrast in temperature sort of through the Midwest. Very, very mild on the eastern side of below, colder on the western side of below, and so there will be heavy rain and probably some heavy snow around as we get in towards the end of the week and that low pressure transfers in towards the northeast. But then over the weekend into next week, this big ridge builds from the south, and that really starts to push up this very mild air from the south as we go into the early part of next week. So the upper air temperature by then, by the start of next week, look really mild pretty much across all parts of America, even in the west, the northwest. The east area is not as cold as the GFS early next week. That takes us through to the middle of next week, and again we've got this ridge sitting in the east and southeast, still pulling up these very mild winds from the Gulf of Mexico through the Midwest and into the east. Out west, we've got low pressure there, so it does look as though it will be quite a bit colder across those western states and also wet as well. These areas of low pressure coming in off the Pacific. They'll be bringing heavy rain and for mountainous areas, heavy snow as well, probably through the second half of next week. So the upper air temperatures also begin to pull something a little bit colder in to the far northern states by day 10. Just here, possibly getting in towards the Midwest as well. Generally very mild though going up the eastern coast, and out to west it is a little bit cooler through there. We'll have outbreaks of heavy rain and for mountainous areas, probably some heavy snow coming in as well. But it does look as though it's a pretty mild scene, I have to say, in much of America actually over the over the next week, 10 days. Once today and tomorrow's out of the way anyway, because the coldest weather, as I say, at the moment is for the next 10 days is at the moment probably today through the Midwest and into the northeast. Just have a look at CFSE2. So these are 500 millibar high tolerance breakdown into week periods. The first week period will take us from the 7th to the 13th of December. The coming week we'll have this ridge across the southern and eastern areas. Low pressure will be up here. So coldest and most unsettled in the west and in the northwest, but the ridge in the southeast will pull up even some very mild air into the south and the east. Week 2 will be the 14th to 20th of December with this large ridge covering most parts of America. That's a mild ridge. Low pressure is pushing northwards along with the jet stream as well. Most parts, though, are under that big area of high pressure, looking mainly dry and potentially very mild. And it goes on into week 3 as well, which is the 21st, 27th of December. No particular sign of a pattern change, so still lots of high pressure ridging through there. There's low pressure up here. That low will be trying to force colder air into the northeast, though, perhaps. That's Christmas. It may start to get a little bit colder into the northeast by then with this area of low pressure. And that's week 4. No real change by then. It's 28th of December to the 3rd of January. Still with the low pressure to the north. Still with the high pressure to the south. I think probably that high pressure is retreating a little bit, though. Maybe allowing something a bit colder to come into those northern, possibly midwestern states. Let's have a look at temperature. So very, very mild scene and week ahead from much of America. A little bit cooler in the far west, but otherwise significantly above average temperatures in week 1 from the 7th to the 13th of December. Week 2 also looks very mild. It's the 14th, 20th of December. It's colder to the extreme northwest, but otherwise it's a really mild scene across most parts of America there. And it goes on into week 3 as well. 21st, 27th of December, generally above average from coast to coast. Just this northwestern corner from the Pacific looking a little bit colder. And then week 4 is the 28th of December to the 3rd of January. Notice the cold is deepening in Canada and trying to push southwards. But generally, most parts of America are still very mild, especially the southern and eastern states, still really above average. So a very, very mild start to this winter of 2021-2022 for much of America. Of course, it could flip, very quickly for the states. It can flip so quickly from exceptionally mild to brutal cold in a continental climate. So January might be frozen, but it does look as though December is getting the wind shot to a mild start most areas. Precipitation anomalies from the 7th to 13th December, quite interesting because it's also pretty wet over in the east. However, we saw from the precipitation anomaly that actually many eastern and northeast parts of America going to be drier on average, but there was variation. Out west, it's a little bit wetter. As well. Moving through to week 2, just generally a dry scene. This is the 14th to 20th December. Most parts of America being forecast by the CFS to be dry on average, particularly so for those eastern states. Week 3 is the 21st, 27th December, dry in the east and out west, a little bit more unsettled through those central western states. And then maybe start getting a bit more unsettled week 4. This is 28th of December, 3rd of January. Possibly seeing signs that things are getting more unsettled there. Still dry in the south around Texas and this Gulf Coast, but overall looking a little bit more unsettled. There may be hints of a bit of a change there, I think. Reading between the lines, there might be a little bit of a change there around the new year to begin to move the jet stream southwards and start to bring some colder air in from Canada, around the new year period. So I say January might be very, very different. January might be frozen. And that is how quickly and extreme, the swing can be across America in that continental climate. But certainly the next couple of weeks, next 2 or 3 weeks, was generally mild, really, across most parts of the states. It does look like this will be a mild December and a mild start to the winter. Whether that carries on for the rest of the winter, though, is a very, very big question, because America does get these really dramatic swings so quickly being that sort of climate. Right, so that's the USA forecast done for this week. We'll do it all over again next week. We'll see whether there's any sign of proper cold weather setting in before Christmas next week. But for this week's USA forecast, that's all for now. We'll be back very shortly with a 10 to 14 day for the UK and for Europe as well. So come back for that. But for the USA forecast this week, that's all for now. And thanks for watching.